Here now are House Deputy Whips. We have Peter Welch, Democrat from Vermont, and Peter Roskam, Republican from Illinois. Mr. Roskam, I want to get to your growth package and the 15% capital gains tax in just a second, sir. But I've never heard such harsh language against profits by the president, against a single bank by Mr. Durbin. This was Durbin's amendment. This was Durbin's tax. He put a cap on the transaction fees in the first place. Now he doesn't like it? You've got to help me here. What does this mean?
No, what it means is it is troubling and it's predictable. And this whole notion of being able to legislate and regulate and there be no consequence whatsoever in the marketplace is absurd. Illinois has 6,000 Bank of America jobs. I represent a constituency in suburban Chicago. What we want is Illinois companies and Illinois employers to be flourishing and thriving. And when the federal government intervenes in ways that aren't helpful and in ways, frankly, that were very predictable, this is the outcome. So Washington needs to learn from this and not make this mistake again.
See, Peter Welch, this is the Durbin tax in cahoots with Walmart. They've put a cap on the swipe fee from 44 cents down to 24 cents. That's costing the Bank of America a couple of $2 billion. So if the B of A, in the spirit of freedom, wants to attempt to raise debit fees to make up the shortfall, why is Dick Durbin telling people to run away from the bank? I don't get this.
Well, two things. My advice to people would be get the best deal you can. And if there's competition out there and I can get a better deal from the bank down the street, then that's where I'm going to go. And I'd encourage other Americans to do the same thing. Second, on the Durbin Amendment, I sponsored that, Larry, in the House. And the reason I did is not to set limits and controls, but there was no competition. Visa, MasterCard have about 85% of the market. They were able to set their rates. The United States merchants had the highest rates in the world, not because there was competition, but because there wasn't competition. So that's what you're seeing the effect of.
Yeah, but the competition, I mean, it gets passed on from the retailers to the bank customers. You got a lot of banks involved in pricing these debit cards. That's the part I don't understand. And for Mr. Durbin to tell people to run away, you know, we'll never have economic recovery, Mr. Roskam. We'll never have economic recovery if we continue to wage war on banks. And I want you to weigh in on President Obama's bank profits. I've never heard anything like this before. Banks do not have, quote, inherent right to certain amounts of profits. That is a central planning statement, is it not?
No,
that is the government saying what you can and cannot make?
Yeah, and what I think the administration is recognizing late to the game is the limitations of its influence in the marketplace, that is to create prosperity. You don't create prosperity by talking down the key players within the marketplace. And what we need is predictability. We need certainty. We don't need meddling, with all due respect to the president and Senator Durbin. We need to go a different pathway. And I think they seem sort of shocked and surprised, but this is a predictable event that's unfortunate. And you see there are 200 regulations that are now pending in the administration, each of which have a $100 million price tag. This can happen over and over again if we're not careful.
You know, I'd like to come in on that, because the thing we're missing here is this: is there competition? Does a merchant, does a consumer have a choice to stay at Bank of America or to go somewhere else? If there's competition, then another bank is going to try to get that customer's business. That's fine. That's what you have to have. More than regulation is competition. Secondly, the profits here, if you can make a profit, make a profit. But you've got to do it because you're offering a better product, not because of regulation or not because of protection.
Well, then I would think you have to do it because the marketplace enables you and rewards you to do it. I don't think the President of the United States should talk about something called inherent profits, which, by the way, is a socialist concept, inherent profits.
You're right.
That's
a
bizarre
Larry.
thing for a president of this country to say. I've never heard one say it before.
Okay, let's have a little context, though. There was like a $750 billion bailout. Bank of America wouldn't be here except for the generosity of the taxpayers, something that had to be done in order to allow Main Street not to have the whirlwind of the bad effects of some of the things that happened.
Which they paid
back.
I don't really want to defend the Bank of America except to say they paid it back, and that I'm a free market guy and the Congress shouldn't impose caps. Mr. Roskam, I want to go to your 15% capital gains and dividends tax. Can that approach last in the so-called jobs bill, which I'm told is dead on arrival, but you tell me?
Well, I don't think the president's entire jobs package is going to be taken up. I think the House will take up some elements of it. But what I'm advocating is predictability and permanency on the dividend side and the capital gain side. Because here's the point. We are in an epic struggle in the United States with our economy for capital formation and job creation. And if we don't have predictability, then nothing good is going to be happening. This should be a place of common ground. This should be a place where we say, look, we know that we've got to help seniors who are largely on fixed incomes. We've got to help businesses and we've got to help investors make wise decisions. The best way to do that is to create certainty and not let just a sword of Damocles come down over the economy when these things are poised to end at the end of 2012.